Decoverted Man here. Let me talk a little bit about eristic dialogue. I've talked about this before, but a YouTuber that I am currently watching and been subscribed to brought up um, needing to know how to deal with fights, verbal fights. And I really thought, oh, this is, something maybe I can help with, but um, perhaps doing so using my voice rather than just typing it out might be more helpful. I'm not sure. At any rate, so first and foremost, to identify the type of dialogue as eristic. And essentially, that's what people think of, I think, when they think about a fight or an argument, is this is actually what they're talking about. So in eristic dialogue, there is a personal conflict. That's what's going on. The methods used in that are trying to verbally hit out at opponent. And the goal of the dialogue is to reveal a deeper basis of the conflict itself. Now, it's not a logical format because you rarely, if ever, actually get to revealing the deeper basis of the conflict. So it might be that somebody asks you to take out the trash and you're yelling at them about, having done this already, and, how come you always ask me to do this? Why can't you do it? But the thing isn't about the anger and all that upsetness isn't necessarily about the trash. It's about something else, some other thing that has been bothering you that you didn't talk to them about, and vice versa. It might, so it's rarely the thing that starts the argument that's the problem. Sometimes it is. So in this case, it's maybe they don't like that you're an atheist, for example. How do you deal with that? Let's say that's the conflict. And if all they're doing is insulting you or yelling, being loud at you, there's very little hope in engaging in logical, reasonable dialogue, because here you are in the midst of this eristic dialogue, this erratic form of conversation. So first is to at least try to get people to, before this starts, to say, listen, yelling, let's talk about that first and foremost. Raising your voice. Some people get really picky about this. It's not yelling, I'm raising my voice, or I'm just, being loud, or whatever. It's like, look, whatever you want to call it, the reason that we humans do this is because we're animals. Now, if they don't want to agree with that, that might be a whole nother problem. But the reason we yell is to try to scare each other. We're like lions roar at each other. Or roar at the prey. They do this to try to scare each other off, to make themselves bigger. Are you an adult or are you a child? Children yell at each other because they don't know how to take that anger and cool down in an appropriate way and get their thoughts together so that they can talk about it maturely. So if you can have that conversation first, that might help. Of course, if you can't, well, maybe it's a lost cause, and maybe it'd be best to not talk to that person at all, which might be impossible or might be very sad or difficult, because that means cutting that person out or whatever. Say, look, I need you to understand, I don't need to have a shouting match. I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to respond if you yell I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to walk away. And then physically walk away. Don't stand there and talk to them more. If you say you're going to do something, do it. And that shows the person you're serious about that. So the issue, the deeper basis of the conflict, if it is about being an atheist, the method of insulting me, that's not going to get me to change. So can we, let's deal with that. So let's have a conversation about insulting words. Maybe something as simple as, have you ever been called a name in your life and changed your mind because of it? Has anyone that we ever have known throughout time that you can think of or name or mention ever changed their mind because they were called an idiot or a moron or a poopy head or whatever? Anyone out there, any human, has there been one? Really? Has there? I'm asking, I'm serious. If not, then why would you do you think that calling me some names is going to change me? No. Okay. Well, then let's not do that. Let's agree we're not going to raise our voice and we're not going to call each other names. If we can agree on that, now we can move away, hopefully, from the eristic dialogue and instead have an actual conversation. You can disagree with me. Understood. You're going to disagree. You're not going to see eye to eye on this. You believe X. I don't. I recognize that you believe X. If you can accept me the way I am, not believing X, we don't have to talk about it. We don't have to talk about this. We can talk about other things. Let's make a compromise. Let's work out something where, if they're trying to constantly save your soul because they think they need to, say, look, pretend I'm the lost sheep. That's a story in the Bible. And let the shepherd come and find me. The shepherd is Jesus. So let that happen, okay? You don't need to do that work anymore. I'm relieving you of that burden, and let Jesus come and find me, okay? So now that you don't have to do that anymore, let's just talk about whatever else, anything else that you want to talk about, but let's not talk about religion. Let's not talk about God. Let's not talk about atheism. If you bring up prayer, you want to pray, I'm going to sit there quietly while you pray. As long as you're not praying for me, if you pray for me, I will walk out. And then again, you do that if they do that. And it is, again, I don't know any particular specifics of this. But broadly speaking, if we can get the other person to acknowledge the pieces of the way that we converse with people, you show them this, and perhaps you say, look, this type of dialogue is called eristic. The reason for this dialogue, what's happening in it, is a personal conflict. The method is to verbally hit out at opponent, and the goal is to reveal a deeper basis of conflict. That's that. Can you agree with that? It has nothing to do with anything else. This is just a type of dialogue. If they can't even agree with that, then maybe it's a lost cause. But you have to break down piece by piece the components of the dialogue that affect you, that do affect you, that will affect you. And those are usually being loud or saying things that are deliberately hurtful. Look, we're not going to try to hurt each other. I'm not going to tell you that there's no God. You don't need to tell me that there is a God. I just this is this is something I've come to. You don't have to agree with it, etc. Um, I've been fortunate in that in my personal life I don't have anyone that really butted heads with me when I didn't believe. Um, Although I think that my brother understood me more than my mom did. Um, Although I'm not sure. I don't know, and I guess I never will. Um, but when you're in a fight, when you're in an argument with somebody, you have to walk away. It's something I'm not very good at. You have to say, "Oh no, I'm getting angry, and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna walk away and go somewhere else and cool down and think and chill out and think about other things, and then I'm gonna write down what I'm thinking, and then I'm gonna put that away and look at it sometime later, maybe an hour later, maybe 2 hours later, but give it time to sit and not in my view, whether it's on paper and you place it face down away from you, or it's on the computer and you put it, you save it as a file or whatever, and you don't look at it for a while. And then you come back and you look at it, go, okay, now that I'm a little bit more rational and reasonable, what can I edit out of this? What do I really need to say? And if you can get the other person to do that, then great. Dealing with the group, I think, would be not a good idea. One-on-one is really the only way to deal with this, because what's going to happen is everyone's going to gang up upon you. If everyone feels like they're on side A, they're on team A, they're all going to gang up on you. They don't want to, they don't mean to, but this is psychological in our thinking. When they're on, if you wear red shirts and you get three people to wear blue shirts, you're on team red and we don't like you. Why? Because you're on team red. We're on team blue. And our brains just do that to us. And so we need to be aware of that as well. So I would say, get it to be where the person will agree, let's talk about these things one-on-one. Let's agree that we're not going to yell or shout or be loud at each other. Let's agree that we're not going to insult each other or try to say things that will hurt each other. And let's come to an understanding where you don't have to agree with me. I'm not asking you to do that. I'm just asking you to accept me for who and what I am, and let's figure that out. What else can I say about verbal fights that I haven't said in the past? I linked to 2 videos I did about this already. One on specifically on eristic dialogue, and one on all the different types of dialogue. And I say this not just to that particular person, but in general, because I think that this is something that does come up is these sort of arguments. And I say it to myself as well. I know I have an anger management problem where if the thing irritates me and I don't step back to be calm about it, then I can say things that I shouldn't. And that's not good. And there are certain things that I just know will push my buttons. So, it's like, get, as soon as that thing comes up, maybe it's best to just, leave the conversation until I learn how to better deal with that, because it's something I have to change. And ultimately, that's a big thing to remember as well, is you can't change other people. You can only change yourself. And that's something I heard, but I didn't really accept or believe it. And it's like I had to keep trying to change this person. I was like, no, but if I do this, and then if I do that, and say this, and I say that, and if I don't do this, then no. You'll just drive yourself insane. You cannot make somebody else do the thing that you want. You can only change yourself, which means that if you encounter somebody that's not willing to change, then your options are you change to adapt to them, or you leave, and that's it. There isn't another real option there. Not because if they want to change, fine, great, but they have to do that. They have to want to do that, and they have to go do it. You can't help them to do that. You can't force them to do that. You can ask them to do that, but they have to go and do it. So that's important to know. And you have to be aware that words, although words have power when we give them power, but they still affect us emotionally. We care what other people say about us, and we tend to think that what they say is true. But when people are angry, they will say things that are not true. They will say things they do not mean. And they say those things to try to hurt you. And they're doing that because they are in pain. And so they're trying to inflict pain upon you as well. Well, why are they in pain? Well, plenty of possible reasons, especially if somebody's just, come out as an atheist, and they're dealing with a bunch of theists. I would imagine it'd be fear of you're going to go to hell now. I mean, we're not going to see you after we die. We're going to be in heaven, you're going to be in hell. That's messed up. We don't want that to be. And I was like, well, look, that's the way it is, though. So is your God fair? Maybe not. Why should I be in hell for not believing? And I'm not telling you to give me the answer, through some apologetics. I'm asking you, do you think it's right that that's going to happen? And don't just say, oh, that's what God is, up to God. No. You decide whether it's right or wrong. How do you feel about that? Do you feel it's okay that I am going to go to hell only for not believing? That's it. That's why what you doing this sin or that sin? Like, yeah, well, but okay, whatever. Fine. Then you're not doing the thought experiment, right? We need there's communication, different communication practices that are around. One that I recall was I think it was like pacifist or peaceful speaking, something like that. And I can't really remember its name exactly, but the idea was that you just let the other person say stuff until they're done talking, and you go, okay, well, I hear you. It's like, yeah, but what's your response? It's like, oh, let me think about it, and I'll come back later when I've thought about it. And I don't know if that's a good idea or a good strategy, but it is a thing that some people do, something like that. I don't know. And maybe it's best you say, look, let's write down what we want to say to each. You write me a letter, and before you send me the letter, read through it, think about what you said, rewrite it later, edit it down, and show it to some other people and see if they would be upset by that letter. And if they're upset, then change it again until you have something that you feel that is not going to upset me, that you want to say. And then I'll respond to that letter. And maybe make it a physical letter and send it through the mail so that it takes time. And maybe that time will help things. we all must do what we can to communicate what we wish to each other, to others, to even ourselves, without uh, putting ourselves down. That's something I hear people do that too, where they'll say, think negative things about themselves. I can't do this. I can't do that. I'm ugly, or I'm whatever. And it's like, look, whether, who knows if any of that's true, but let's just say it's not, or pretend it's not. Let's instead say, what are the positive things that you can say about yourself? Because it does you no good to use erratic dialogue on yourself. You're not going to get anywhere. I'm a little bit overweight, maybe a little bit more than a little bit, and I'm aware of that. But it's just, saying, oh, I'm fat. That's not going to do me any good. I shouldn't celebrate it either. I'm not for that. I think that, if other people want to say, hey, you need to lose some weight, I'll just be like, yeah, you're absolutely right, I do. And that should be the end of that conversation, because I'm not going to, I was like, yeah, you're right, I do. Yeah. Frank Hughes, hi. Hello, how's it going? Never seen that name pop up. So they're in the little chat, by the way. Let's see, what else can I say about fights? In school, we used to insult each other and call it cuts. And you had to learn how to cut people, and you had to do it basically to survive. The person would cut, and they would expect you to cut them back. And I got really clever in the insults. They were like things you had to try to think about. So, to try to be like, okay, I've insulted you back, and then it's weird and strange, and you have to think about it, or whatever, And I taught this other kid how to do it, and we became friends for a while because I had helped him out. Insults, it's just so weird that we still do that as adults. You would think that we would grow out of it. You would think we would grow out of yelling, but we don't. Some of us don't, and so it really requires a maturity to do that. So, okay, I think that's all I got. Trying to think of anything I might have left out. If you have questions about, if you have a specific thing to talk to me about, maybe doing so in the comments, unless you're okay with it being public, might not be a good idea. So my email is on my About page. It's also, so if you click on About, you'll see the email. But it's deconvertedman1, the number 1, at gmail.com, and you can email me, and I will talk to you about things in particular or whatever, because it is a subset of logic dealing with these things. But ultimately, I don't know all the things, and I can only tell you the logical course, which I think I covered here. But again, I can be a little bit more specific. So decon, I can't even spell my own name. Gmail.com. Okay, put that on the screen. All right, and there we go. Well, no, this is interesting. I'm getting people in here just asking me questions about things that have nothing to do with chat, or not chat, arguments, whatever the thing is. So I guess I'll deal with that. William wants to know where I grew up and what religion I grew up in. Well, it's a good question. And I'll say that you can find the answers to that question in my book called Caught Between an Infinite Hope and a Finite Despair, available on Amazon. So you can get that book and find out. Uh, it's also probably on my channel, except for the where I grew up part. I don't think I reveal that in the book, and I hopefully have never revealed it on my channel because it's something I wouldn't talk about. What about female bullies? Well, the same applies to male and female. It's the same logic. It applies. Um, as far as trying to use logical reasoning. But if you're talking about physical altercations, well, ideally you want to avoid those altogether. But if it's a thing that comes up, you call the cops and press charges. If somebody hits you, that's what you do. You just go, okay, you hit me. Even if you're a kid, doesn't matter what age you are. You go, okay, fine. I'm gonna run. Call, if you hopefully you can identify them or whatever. Hopefully other people saw it. You call 9. You get it on video. Hopefully, whatever you can do, but get out of there and call the cops and just press charges and go, okay, you hit me. Now you get to go to jail for a while. That's it. That's the answer. Back in my day, it was, you had to physically defend yourself. But I think that now, with all the things that schools do, they, usually, suspend people that hit you or whatever. So I think if you're, a kid, that's what the school would do. But I still think you should call the cops and press charges. But yeah, if you're threatened by another individual, you have the right to defend yourself. Yes. But ideally, get out of the situation, get away from it, if you can. Yes, defend yourself, but that is so that you can get away. It's not so that you stand there and have a fight. The ideally, you learn how to flip somebody over or whatever so that you can knock the wind out of them so you can run away. Because, there's no shame in that. Look, if you want to fight, we can arrange that in a civilized manner. That's why we have boxing and mixed martial arts and all this, wrestling and what have you. So if you want to see who's actually stronger, then let's do that. But yeah, but well, you're it's not a solution if you wind up going to jail for it. So I would not advise attacking people. I would simply say, call the cops, press charges. That's it. Then they're not going to. All right. So, but as far as adults and all that, same thing really for adults. But I was talking about fights in verbal sense. All right. Well, thank you all for listening. And again, if you have questions, comments, concerns, other keywords, leave them in the comment section below. And thanks for listening.